At Wise Owl Westgate College, a pioneering, real-life, interdisciplinary project was launched under the theme Conflict Resolution. Rooted in the historical context of the First World War, an event born out of prolonged and unresolved conflict, the project sought to shift focus from war to peace building, cooperation, and sustainable solutions. The concept of conflict resolution was not only explored in history, but extended across three other key subjects: geography, fashion and textiles, and English. Each department adopted a unique lens to interpret and contribute to the central theme, making this project a holistic educational experience. In fashion and textiles, students investigated the environmental consequences of modern consumer behavior, particularly how the frequent disposal of torn or unfashionable garments contributes to environmental degradation. The project explored sustainable alternatives to fast fashion and encouraged students to think creatively about textile reuse and recycling. This was seen as a form of conflict between humans and the environment, one that demands immediate resolution through sustainable practices. The geography component focused on urban conflict within the Central Business District, CBD, where informal and formal traders often clash over limited space and resources. The project involved a major investigation into how urban littering, especially by vendors, contributes to environmental decay and how these challenges reflect broader 21st century issues affecting developing countries. Students critically examined the role of governance, urban planning, and sustainable development in mitigating these conflicts. The English department played a central role in synchronizing the entire project. It was responsible for enhancing the overall communication, creativity, and presentation of ideas. Through written reports, creative writing, and oral presentations, students expressed their understanding of conflict resolution across disciplines. English served as the binding thread that brought coherence, clarity, and artistic finesse to the collaborative efforts. With all logistical arrangements in place, the school appointed a dedicated team of 7 teachers to lead the initiative. Mr. Mshlongwa, Mr. Stole, Ms. Mukanyi, Mr. Mashaure, Mr. Chibaya, Mr. Sibanda, and Mrs. Mtetwa. These educators guided students through the investigative and creative processes, fostering critical thinking, collaboration, and problem solving. This interdisciplinary project marked a first of its kind initiative at Wise Owl Westgate College. It not only enriched the curriculum, but also provided learners with a platform to connect historical insights with current environmental and social issues, demonstrating the enduring importance of resolving conflict through dialogue, creativity, and collective responsibility. Our Form 1 learners stepped into the spotlight to showcase the future of education through the launch of the RU project on conflict resolution. From the moment the program began, 2 confident and dynamic masters of ceremonies, Mpho Chiringa and Jane Kandoe, led us smoothly through the day. These Form 1 learners not only owned the stage, but also set the tone for what was an inspiring morning of creativity, inquiry, and courage. We were honored to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. David Broom, whose heartfelt message on conflict resolution, rooted in biblical wisdom, deeply resonated with our audience and Real Life Project's topic titled Conflict Resolution.
Okay, your other part of your nervous system is your parasympathetic nervous system. And now your parasympathetic nervous system is designed for when you're relaxing. It's the part that takes over when you eat and you've got to digest the food. Y'all feel sleepy after a good bowl of salsa? Yeah, that's because that nervous system took over. Not your fighting mechanism, but your, okay, let's just chill out and relax, right? And so that nervous system has its own job to do. Now, why am I talking about all that? Because when we have conflict, one of those nervous systems is going to work. Yeah? When you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody, one of those nervous systems is going to work. Which one do you think is going to help you resolve conflict better?
His words reminded us that peace, understanding, and transformation begin within and dates back to the beginning of the world. He gave an example of the cup filled with coffee. If it is full, it spills, and if it is half full, nothing will happen. The comparison drew people to how conflict arises and how it can be managed. Our Form 1 students confidently presented across 4 subjects. History brought us the origins of conflict through World War I.
Good morning, esteemed faculty, fellow students, parents, and guests. It is an honor to stand before you today as a representative of the History Department, speaking on a topic that has shaped the world for centuries, conflict resolution. History is, in many ways, wars that have been fought, nations divided, and communities torn apart by differences. Yet, if you look closely to these events, we also find stories of resolution, of individuals and groups coming together to mend what has been broken. This is the paradox of conflict. Inevitable. So, it is inevitable. It seems also inevitable. So, too is the potential for peace. Who we are. So, on the 19th of March, we went to the National Museum of Zimbabwe and we got a small insight into Zimbabwean history and the conflict that has made us we are in the name of Chimrenga 1 and 2. Our research has taken us to revealing the world conflict that is the World War I and 2. This is the most important lesson we get from history, is the power of dialogue. Take for instance the Lancaster House agreement in the Land Tenure Act. The idea that change is possible without resorting to destruction is the lesson we must carry with us today.
Geography highlighted the environmental pollution crisis and the need for global sustainability. Fashion and textiles wowed us with recycled creations, from torn fabrics to trendy bags and scarves. English language moved our hearts through poetry with the powerful Echoes of Chaos by Gabriel Zingambwe standing out as a moment of brilliance. Music, interviews, and parents' engagement added color to the event.
So Gerald, in conclusion, could you tell us what happened when you went for your real projects too?
When we went for our real projects too, we went to the Zimbabwe Museum of Human Sciences. So basically, we learned how people used to live in the past. We also saw a sight to behold. We saw weapons that were used to fight. People used to fight over salt, since salt was normally found in one place. So we hope that we can put that information into work so that we can find solutions in how to solve conflict.
So could you tell us what you think that your new project can take you up?
Our new projects will input some solving skills that we may input in our daily lives. We can use this to make our country a better world, because we are the future leaders of tomorrow. We should join hands, hand in hand. We should work as our new future leaders to make our country a better place.
Good morning, Angel.
Hi, Naomi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. So, besides the museum, you guys also went to Mbare, right?
Yeah, we did. So Mbare is basically a center where informal traders gather to sell their goods and products.
What are informal traders exactly?
So informal traders, these are just people that buy and sell, but then their shops are not registered. So basically illegal shops.
So, out of all the things you did, what can you say you saw in Mbare?
So because of these informal traders have been causing problems. They've been causing conflicts among themselves in the environment. So how do they cause among themselves? So because these sites are illegal, they tend to fight over customers, and they also fight over space for selling. And then in terms of the environment, they litter a lot. So that's what I noticed has been caused by informal traders.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
An impromptu interview with Dr. Brom was handled with maturity by our students, showing that real learning isn't always scripted.
College. So what you have been doing in your project, you've been doing conflict resolution, right? You went out to many places, seeing informal and formal traders, and asking them how they resolve conflict between them and the conflicts that are like around them. So I just wanted to ask that, do you know any other resolutions of conflicts between informal and formal traders?
Ooh, I think it's going to be a tough one in our country. Because of the necessity of the informal trader, I think we're going to have a challenge with how to manage that and the pressure that it puts on the economy. I think what it's going to take is a blended solution of people being able to comprehend the basic needs and the ability to create jobs. So until we can create an economy in which jobs are available to people, we're going to have to survive with an informal sector for people to be able to feed their families and put food on the table. So it's going to be one that I think requires work on both ends. I certainly think the onus of the pressure is on the government institutions that need to be there to create jobs and make opportunity. And if we can create a stable economy enough where we can grow that formal sector, then we can start to hire people out. And so I think the conflict resolution is to drive it towards a need-based initiative where we are needing to pull in workers out of the informal sector. And when we can do that, we'll see that conflict decrease in our country.
The last question I have is, in history, we're also learning about the urban and rural areas. Like, there's conflict between them, of course, because it's two different areas. So, do you know any ways where we can bring the rural people to the urban areas?
I am not so sure everybody should live in the urban areas. I think the Shona culture does an incredible job of supporting those that are staying in Kumusha or rural area. And I think as much as we can, we need to be able to support what's happening in that community. I'm not sure that urban life and continuing the densification that we're working on in Zimbabwe, I don't know that that's the wisest choice. Because along with that come a lot of other problems, the crimes, the drug problems, the unemployment issues. So I think the better answer would be, how could we keep people at the rural area, allow them to grow their life in the space that they're able to stay in with that opportunity.
Okay, thank you, sir. You answered my questions, now I understand. Thank you very much, sir.
Parents were treated to a gallery walk where learners confidently explained their projects. The response was overwhelmingly positive, a true celebration of learner voice and 21st century skills. The Rural Project launch was a clear success. Our students shone, our teachers worked tirelessly, our parents engaged, and our vision of building confident, collaborative, creative learners came to life. At Wise Owl Westgate College, learning extends far beyond the classroom. It lives in experience. It breathes in creativity. And this year, it rose through an ambitious interdisciplinary initiative, the Real Project on Conflict Resolution. Rooted in historical insight and driven by real-world relevance, the project began with a simple yet powerful question: what causes conflict? And how can we resolve it? Their first stop, the museum, a place where the past lives and breathes. Here, history unfolded before their eyes, from the shaping of primitive tools to the growth of early settlements. Learners traced their earliest sparks of conflict in human society. They discovered that conflict was not just about war. It was about survival, space, power, and identity. It was here that they were introduced to the three central types of conflict: man versus man, man versus the environment, and man versus self. It was not just a history lesson. It was the foundation for deeper thought, greater empathy, and critical inquiry. To understand conflict in today's world, the learners stepped into the beating heart of Harare, Mbare Musika. Bustling, bold, and brimming with energy, this marketplace revealed the real-time challenges of informal economies. Here, students observed the struggles of vendors balancing survival and legality, the tension between growth and order, and the environmental toll of unregulated activity. It was raw, it was human, it was learning at its most vivid. Geography met economics. Sociology met environmental science. Education met reality. Back in the classroom, the conversation took on new meaning in fashion and textiles. Learners explored how human behavior impacts the environment, even through something as personal as clothing. They studied the throwaway culture, how torn garments are discarded without thought. They considered the environmental cost of fast fashion, and they asked, can design be a form of resolution, not conflict? In fashion, conflict became creativity, waste became wonder. The solution began to take shape, one stitch at a time. Then came a moment of quiet reflection. Back at school, learners sat down with Pastor Ganje, an expert in pastoral counseling. With compassion and clarity, he reframed conflict in spiritual terms. He taught them that some conflicts can be resolved with wisdom and grace, while others must be carried with faith and strength. From Cain and Abel to Joseph and his brothers, he showed them that even ancient stories carry lessons for modern hearts. He reminded them not all conflicts can be resolved, but all can be understood. The experience sparked honest conversations. Learners interviewed one another, sharing emotions, insights, and stories. They reflected on the conflicts in their own lives, their communities, and even within themselves. It became clear they were no longer just learning about conflict. They were learning about each other and about themselves.
Good afternoon, my name is Anisha Chiwai and I'm a part of the Real Projects group. When we went to Mbare Musika, we saw conflict that happened between land and man. We saw a lot of people littering around and also polluting by smoking and all sorts of drugs. And we also saw how people in Mbare lived crowdedly, and between land and man, there are more than land.
Then the creativity began to bloom. In English classes, the learners transformed observation into expression. Through poetry, they gave voice to everything they had seen and felt. They wrote about poverty, pollution, war, family disintegration, forgiveness. Their words were raw, honest, and deeply personal. They were no longer just students. They had become storytellers, philosophers, and changemakers. In our journey to understand conflict resolution, we, the learners, visited the Central Business District to hear the voices of the street vendors. Many of them shared their daily struggles with us. They explained that formal shop owners sometimes hire council police to raid their vendor stalls. During these raids, their goods are confiscated and they are forced to pay heavy fines for breaking municipal laws.
My problems are not funny city council, whereby we know where but raiders in jail, we know gonna where we told us in jail. So zvinhu zvenyu munoenda unonozvitora here, munobhadhariswa mari here, zvinonzodzorerwa?
Unokwanisa unozvitora but unenge wotobhadhara mari kuzvikoro zvacho.
Oh, so malosi zenyu how much?
Malosisi anenge akawanda because pazvinhu zvacho unogona kuwana zvimwe zvepasisina.
Oh.
Then you pay, then you recover some of those things.
Which means you could buy more instead of just going to get the things already.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think sekufunga kwenyu chingakubatsirei kuti murambe muine business yenyu kana kuti business yenyu rambe ichikura?
There's some lessons. Sit down.
Besides my licenses, is there any other way to reduce raids from the council? Ngakubatsirei kuti murege kuramba muchiredwa necouncil?
Vanenge vakufana kugadzira nzvimbo dzekuti tinofanira kuti tinoshandira.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
The conflict arises because the vendors often set up right in front of formal clothing shops, selling similar products at much cheaper prices. This creates tension as shop owners feel that their businesses are being threatened. One vendor who operates a mobile shop from his car told us his story. He sells second-hand clothes and explained that because of high unemployment rate, he has no choice but to hustle to provide for his family. He has been doing this for the past 3 years. From these interviews, we discovered that this conflict goes beyond just vendors and shop owners. It is also a conflict between people and the environment. Many unwanted clothes are thrown away, causing land pollution. But these clothes can be given a new life by being sold as second-hand items, redesigned, repaired, or reused. This way, we reduce waste and create opportunities for people who rely on selling clothes for survival. Through understanding each side of the story, we learn that conflict resolution begins with listening, finding common ground, and thinking of creative solutions that benefit both people and the environment. On the 2nd of April, the Form 1 students from Wise Owl Westgate College set out on a journey of discovery. Their mission? To better understand conflict resolution and how it applies to real-life issues in their community. Their destination, the Environmental Management Agency, or EMA, offices in Harare. At EMA, the students interviewed officials and explored the challenges faced in protecting the environment. They quickly realized that the conflict does not only happen between people, it also exists between humans and the environment. One example is land pollution in Harare. The students learned that informal traders who often operate in undesignated spaces without proper sanitation contribute to the problem. This creates tension between EMA and those causing harm to the environment.
It's not always about reduce, it's also about reuse. We have, let's say we have used oil, but also some of, we call them hazardous substances. Someone no longer wants to use used oil. Someone can also take and use it for something else. So currently we don't have any way to dispose chemicals, the harmful chemicals, but we have our dump site in Pomona. They are working towards that disposal of chemicals.
But EMA is not standing still. The agency is taking action, finding polluters and raising awareness through public campaigns. Still, officials shared that their efforts aren't always easy. They face resistance from some polluters, along with challenges like limited resources and difficulties enforcing the law. For the students, the visit was eye-opening. They saw firsthand how resolving conflict, whether between people or with nature, requires communication, cooperation, and commitment. As future leaders, they're inspired to be part of the solution, because when it comes to protecting our environment, everyone has a role to play. This is more than just a school project. It's a step towards a cleaner and more peaceful world. In Term 1 2025, a group of curious and determined Form 1 students from Wise Owl Westgate College set out on a journey to explore, to learn, and to lead. Their mission? To understand conflict, how it starts, how it affects people, and how it can be resolved. Under the theme Conflict Resolution, the students embarked on the Term 1 Real project with open minds and a deep sense of purpose. Their fieldwork took them across Harare, visiting the CBD, Mbare, Westgate Shopping Mall, and the Environmental Management Agency, EMA, offices. There, they spoke to informal traders, former shop owners, and the EMA officials, uncovering the everyday struggles and the silent tensions shaping our city. They discovered that conflicts between informal and formal traders are driven by competition for customers, as vendors offer lower prices and greater convenience, perceptions of legitimacy, with formal traders often viewing vendors as unregulated, and economic consequences, where both sectors struggle to coexist in a competitive market. But conflict isn't just between people. At EMA, the students saw a different kind of struggle, one between people and the environment. They learned how illegal vending contributes to land pollution, and how EMA is working tirelessly to protect our environment despite limited resources and public resistance. In these conflicts, one key player emerged: the Harare City Council. Their role? To bring balance, to support both informal and formal businesses, to design vending sites with proper facilities, to involve communities in decision making, to work hand in hand with EMA for a cleaner, more sustainable Harare. Through urban planning, stakeholder engagement, and inclusive policies, the Council has the power to create order, opportunity, and peaceful coexistence. But perhaps the greatest impact was on the learners themselves. They gained more than just knowledge. They developed empathy, confidence, leadership, and vision. They learned to listen, to ask the right questions, and to seek the real solutions to real problems. They stepped into the shoes of citizens and came back as change makers. The Real Project wasn't just about understanding conflict. It was about building peace, promoting sustainability, and shaping a future where every voice matters. Wise Owl Westgate College's Form 1 students have shown us that even at a young age, you can make a difference. That's the first step to resolution, is the courage to care.